Good morning, folks.
Good morning.
Morning. Find a seat. We'll go ahead and get started in a couple of minutes. But welcome. Glad you guys are here. I guess some of you guys don't want to sit down. That's okay, too. Right? Okay. Not going to make it. Well, welcome. Hello, I'm Steve Killian. I'm the complex superintendent here at Cooper Lake State Park. And I welcome you to our 25th anniversary celebration. It's going to be a celebration. This ceremony is just the beginning of what we have planned. I don't know if you guys realize this or not, but Cooper Lake is one of the newest state parks in our vast system. We're one of the baby parks, and I know Rodney's going to probably talk about some of the parks we're building, but we're building more parks, and that's great because our population of Texas is growing. Cooper Lake was open to the public in 1996, just a few years ago to some of us. Our state parks protect a vast land holding in the great state of Texas. I think our parks really are what makes Texas Texas. From Paladuro Canyon to Garner to Brazos Bend to Big Bend Ranch and so many more parks. We're blessed to work for Texas State Parks, and you guys are blessed to live in the great state of Texas. Well, the beginning here is our 25th anniversary celebration with our ceremony. And tonight we have something special. We have a theatrical production at the South Sulphur Unit by the Main Street Theater. It's going to start at 7 p.m. tonight. And it's going to run for about an hour. And it's going to be at the amphitheater. So I hope to see you guys there. Also tomorrow from 9 to 4, we have multiple educational programs. We have guided hikes. So it's going to be a lot of fun from 9 to 4 p.m. We're going to have game wardens. We're going to have master naturalists. And we're going to have a number of educational programs. So I do welcome you guys to that. I hope you'll make it to that as well. And then tomorrow night, we're going to cap this celebration off with a concert on the banks of Cooper Lake State Park. The Raleigh Springs Jamboree has been brought up to Cooper Lake State Park for this one special event, and it's going to start tomorrow night at 7:30. It's going to run from 7:30 to 9:30, and Miss Enola Gay Matthews will lead that great event, and you're going to see her a little bit later in our program, but definitely make it to the concert tomorrow night. It should be a great time. I hear you're going to have to bring a jacket because it may be cool, finally. So I'm happy about that. Well, this morning, we have an outstanding list of regional and local leaders, and they're going to talk about how Cooper Lake is impacting our local and regional economies and how we're impacting this great state of Texas for good. So I'm looking forward to hearing our speakers as well. Well, thank you for attending this ceremony. I know you guys have a busy schedule. It's going to last a little less than an hour, so you can get back to your busy day, but I'm definitely glad you're here. I would be remiss if I went any farther without recognizing the great park rangers who maintain our Texas state parks, and specifically Cooper Lake State Park. So for the rangers who are not standing, could you guys stand? And can we give those guys and ladies a big hand? We could not maintain these parks at this high professional standard without our great park rangers. And we have a number of volunteers in the crowd as well. Let's give our volunteers a big round of applause. You want to raise your hand and stand up. Okay. With that, let's now rise and sing our national anthem performed by the Mighty Marine Jazz Band of Cooper ISD, and then followed by Texas, Our Texas. outstanding, guys. Thank you. And they're going to play more for us at the end of our ceremony, so stay tuned. Well, our first speaker today has had a distinguished and is continuing to have a distinguished career with the Army Corps of Engineers. Some of you may or may not know this, but the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department leases this park from the federal government, as well as our wildlife management area, Cooper Wildlife Management Area. Without Matt and his fellow Corps team members, our parks would not be possible. They just would not be possible. Only a seamless working relationship between the Corps and Texas State Parks makes our parks the gems they are. And I definitely want to thank the Corps for everything they do for us. Matt Seavey. Matt Seavey is currently our lake manager for Cooper Lake and also Lake Wright-Patman. Matt graduated with a bachelor's degree from Southern Illinois University at Carbondale. And about 2 weeks ago, Matt and I realized we were in college at the same time. We didn't know that until we had a meeting a couple weeks ago. So that's a cool fact. While attending college, he worked with the Corps for 2 summers as an intern at Lock and Dam number 13 on the Mississippi River. And in March of 1990, he joined the Army Corps of Engineers with a permanent position at Lake Wright-Patman as a park ranger. 2004, Matt accepted a job as a forester in the Piney Woods District. And then in November 2017, he was assigned the job of lake manager for Lake of the Pines. And then in July of 2019, we were fortunate that he was assigned the lake manager's position for Cooper Lake, and we're benefiting from that fact. Matt is currently in his 33rd year of performing good service for the federal government with the Army Corps of Engineers. I'd like to introduce now Matt Seavey, Lake Manager, Cooper Lake.
Well, first of all, thank you, Steve. Thank you, Texas Parks and Wildlife. Like I say, this is a big day. All I can say is wow, 25 years. I'm beginning to feel like I'm getting older here. I mean, I'm feeling my age for sure. So it's a special place, always has been. You know, Steve went through where I've been through, but Wright-Patman and Cooper have always been the heart of what I've wanted, and you know, some of the work that's been done here is just fantastic. This lake is, you know, like I say, it's near and dear to my heart. Probably the very first thing, I was barely just over a year as a permanent park ranger, and I had the opportunity to come here September 28th, 1991 for the lake dedication to Cooper Lake. And so it's hard to believe, not too far from here, down by where the emergency spillway was. Some of you might remember we were there on the lake floor. I remember some of the issues we had. I showed up a week before, and we had rangers throughout the whole Fort Worth district coming to help out to get this thing prepared. So I remember some of our big tasks was, of all things, we had to set up a bunch of helicopter landing pads all through the lake bottom, because they had so many dignitaries that came down and flew in their helicopters. Another thing, it was right next to the emergency spillway and the intake structure where the structure was, and it had rained the week before, and all this mud had developed along the apron of the emergency spillway. So as a young ranger, we were out there with shovels and rakes and everything else to get all this cleared. And you know how the mud is around here, it's a little slick, so we had to make it safe for everybody. So, and we spent time, and I think one of the other big moments is they had a stage set up. And I don't think anybody realized it, but at the time, we had this thing, and we knew we were going to take it apart, so that, you know, the guy that built it knew he was going to get the wood back. We just wanted it temporarily there, so we started putting some of the sound equipment on it, and the next thing, the whole thing just shifts. It just about falls over. So we went in and, you know, we noticed that a lot of the structures only had one nail because he was thinking, hey, we'll get the wood back, you know, in good shape. But we went in there and, of course, we got underneath there, straightened it all out, and we ended up putting a bunch more nails in this thing. So I'm sure if he's here today, he probably remembers what we did to the stage on that, but it was very, you know, it was very well built, but like I say, he was looking at, hey, I don't blame him either. Let's make it easier for himself. So, well, like I say, during that dedication, you know, it was a very special moment. You know, we've always said in the Corps that it's the last lake that we'll ever build for Texas. A lot of these other lakes are being built from other entities, but we're still a part of the permit process. But this is the last lake that the Corps has built in the state of Texas. So it's always near and dear to our hearts of this. And it took a long time. I don't think people realize is that Cooper Lake was actually authorized from Congress the same time as Lake of the Pines and Wright Patman Lake were. And it got held up in a lot of lawsuits and some other things, but you know, eventually we got this beautiful area right here. So, like I say, it took some time, all the way from, you know, the 50s all the way to 1999 to get constructed. So, well, a little bit on this lake. Like I say, as an early ranger, GPSing was considered very new technology at the time, and I had the job of going out with another ranger, and we went around this lake. It was GPSing all the corners, all the boundary lines during the beginning of it, because, you know, at that time we just had them surveyed in. And I still remember this to this day. I remember it was a hot, late summer day. Everybody knows how those are. We were looking for any shade we could find, taking a water break. And I was sitting underneath this tree, and I was looking at the three leaves, and I said, well, it's a box elder tree. And until I started seeing white berries on it. And then I realized I had never in my life seen a poison ivy tree of that size. Ranger with me, we went down and washed ourselves off. We still all got our little bout of poison ivy from it. But, you know, like I say, this is a unique area. And, you know, with my career here, eventually was able to move from a park ranger to a forester. And, you know, Cooper Lake is actually what we are calling our Piney Woods region. So, Piney Woods region is Cooper Lake, Wright Patman, Lake of the Pines, Sam Rayburn, and Town Bluff. Well, I was always a northern forester, so I was the guy up north. I took care of Cooper, Lake of the Pines, and Wright Patman Lake. And I just want to give kudos out to, again, the Texas Parks and Wildlife, the Wildlife Division. The work they've done with prairie restoration and some of the work in here has just been fantastic. I can't explain how much, you know, what this area was like before, because there has been a good transition to what, you know, what naturally was here in the past. I know you locals have probably seen the fires and the burning and all that, but the work that they've done, the partnership that we have with the Texas Parks and Wildlife, we would not have the resources here, we wouldn't have the parks here if it wasn't for their work that they've done. Now, earlier on, now you notice that the lake is 30 years old, but we're just celebrating 25 years for this park areas that were open. Of course, a lot of that, when I first came in here and was going through, we were driving through these parks when they were first building and constructing. And you know, I still remember coming down to this boat ramp, coming through a lot of these areas. But I can say honestly, to this day, even though it's aged 25 years, what the parks have done here, Texas Parks and Wildlife have not only increased recreational opportunity, but I think they've improved on that early construction of what we've had in here. The number of campsites, the beauty that they have here, the work they've done, you know, with their cabins and everything. If it wasn't for their, you know, dedication, professionalism to maintain these areas, I just don't think that we would see these parks the way they are today. We could have built them 25 years ago and they would not be at the stage they are today. They've done a wonderful job. Again, the partnership we have, you know, again, the lake would just not be the same way, because the Corps, when they built this lake, said, we're not going to do it. Who's going to jump in with us? And Texas Parks and Wildlife said, we'll be in there to do the recreation. Opportunities here have increased. And if I'm right, Steve, I think this year has probably been the biggest year, if not one of the biggest years they ever had as far as recreation. This is a regional asset. People locally use this, but at the same time, all through the state of Texas, people come to this lake and outside the state. We're seeing a mass amount of people realizing the gem that this is in this part of Texas, and we're just seeing more and more of that. Just on a personal note, I mean, it's not far from here, but my son finally got his permanent job. He graduated from Stephen F. Austin as a forester, but he's up at Pat Mays, so he always hears all kinds of good things about what's going on in Cooper, and I get, not just being the lake manager here, I get to hear it on the other side of how things are. But the wonderful things that we have here, all I can do is, happy 25th. I hope we have another 25, another 100 years after this, and that we will come back and probably won't be here in the next 25 years, but maybe I will. So, but anyhow, you guys, thank you. Thank you for the partnership. Thank you for your local investment into this lake. And like I say, we're always here to help out when we can. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Matt. That was great. But before you leave the stage, I want to give you a gift that's from our staff here, Cooper Lake State Park. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
All right. Well, started off right, didn't we? Yeah. The next speaker today will be Darren Brady, the mayor of Cooper, Texas. Mayor Brady was born in Dallas. Mayor Brady went to junior and senior high at Cooper. He married his high school sweetheart of 33 years. They have 3 children and 4 grandchildren. You're that old, sir? I didn't know that. Mayor Brady is also the children's pastor of the First Baptist Church of Cooper. Mayor Brady has served in his current capacity for the past 5 years as mayor of the great city of Cooper, Texas. Let me introduce and welcome Mayor Darren Brady.
Thank y'all for having me. Can you hear me back there in the back? Okay, so I can remember when this lake was just being talked about, and I'm looking out at Mr. Stone, and I know he can remember even back before then. My father told me when he was a young boy here growing up that there were discussions about a lake coming in Cooper, and then all these years later a lake showed up, and I won't say this in front of Mr. Stone because back then he played in another capacity, but I remember when the entranceway coming up here to where you would turn off coming into the park was what we called the quarter, and that's where all the youngsters went out and we saw whose vehicle was the fastest down that little quarter-mile stretch right there. So it goes way back, and it is a huge blessing. So when I first met Steve, and I think it was pretty early on when he came here, and it was real early in my office, we met, and we actually had a group of people in town that were brainstorming about what do we want Cooper to be, how do we want Cooper to look, what do we want the future of, where are we trying to go, and Steve came in with us with discussions, and one of the first things that I remember that he said to me is, how does Cooper and the state parks come together in helping promote each other through advertising, through what and how do those work together. So I'm going to say from the very beginning there's been an attitude of a partnership of how do we intertwine together, because like it or not we're right here together, so how do we help and support each other, and so that relationship I think has been a very important thing. And I'll say, and I know we're here celebrating the anniversary here, but I'll say when Steve came in, we talked about some things. My wife and I are avid park people, and not just in this great state, but other states. So we see things in other areas, and in talking with Steve, we're talking about things that we've seen, and boy, immediately he's like, oh, I know this, I know. He was even connected to a park we went to in Arkansas that we really like to spend some time with, and so his leadership and the team that he has here has put together programs and opportunities for people and excitement at our park. Just getting the items for sale in the store, my wife was, oh man, I need a hoodie. So there's been excitement that's come along, so that's been great. So the question is, how does this help? What does this benefit in for Cooper? And so I sat down and put a couple of thoughts together. So I'm going to say socially, it's a huge benefit, because what I can tell you is, again, we're park people, we're lake people, and there are a lot of people in this community that are. We have affordable and very easy, quick access to great amenities to come out and have a good time where we live right here in our own community. Before, where Matt's son is, that's where we'd have to go to Pat Mays, or we'd go down to Cypress Springs or somewhere if we wanted to go, get on a lake. So now we have it, and it's right here in our community. And what that does is it makes for a happier community, to be honest. You have opportunities and things to get to easily, and a happy community is a healthy community. The memories that just me personally have been made here through this park, through access to the waters and what have you, are numerous. We're boating people. We've brought church groups out here. We've brought family groups out here. Our grandchildren, as we talked about. It has been a great opportunity to bring people, and again, so easy to access. And there's just so many memories there. As a matter of fact, just a few months ago, we came over with our 5th and 6th grade Sunday school group and had a camp out, and we got a little shelter. We cooked. We fished. We played games, we went on hikes, we had all these great time periods, so all these memories, so to me, I think that is super important for sure. Socially, I'll tell you that at my church, and I'm sure other churches have the same thing, we've had people that's come in as visitors, and of course we want to go, how we are, you want to go say hi to, new faces, and when you start asking, we got to ask, where you from, what are you doing, how'd you get here, and, oh, we're out at the park this weekend, we just needed a place to come and worship today, so just great ties, and what that does is it brings people, because it is not just locals that are using this, but regionally, it brings people together, and they get to see our town, and they get to interact with our people. So I think that's a great aspect of that. Social and happiness are all very important, but economically, what happens with this lake, and what impact has there? And I'll tell y'all that studies will tell you, when you're doing economic development, if businesses or people are looking to relocate, they're looking for very specific things. They're looking for services. They're looking what your school system's like. They're looking for what those amenities and parks and those things weigh heavily. They want to know what you have in the arts, in the form of the arts, so that they can come and be part. And so park systems are super important, especially with people trying to push to be outdoors and to be healthy. Those parks are important. So when people are looking and then they say, oh, there's a state park just right outside of town, then that helps them maybe decide to come in and move to our community, or maybe come and invest in business here. And as a business owner, where I may not live here, if I own a business, but my employees are here, and I want my employees to be happy. So you want those types of offerings. So I think that's super important for us. And the park does, it draws people in. For the city, we don't have any money, just like any small city. So when we buy something, we have got to get the best deal we can. And I'm not plugging this company by any means, but Sandpack Ford, Five Star Ford, and Farmers Branch has given us the best rate for the last 2 years. And I was just up recently picking up one of the trucks that we purchased. And as we're doing the paperwork with Kevin, who I've known for a couple of years now, he stops and looks, and he says, oh, I forgot you're in Cooper. I'm coming down this weekend. So I told my wife, I said, well, we better get the spare room. I thought he was coming to hang out with us. Coming to Cooper. No, we're campers. We're bringing the camper. We're coming down to Cooper to camp out. So it does. It brings people. It draws people, and that's a huge thing for us. And I'll tell you what else happens economically is there are visitors of the park that come, and when they drive through town, they see we have some great restaurants on the square. They see we've got grocery stores, fuel, all those things that they need, and they spend their money while they're in town, especially when they get a whiff of some of the good food that's coming off of that square. They may not cook out one night and come in town to eat. So here's what happens is those tax dollars, y'all, are super important for the city. The way we budget is, as a matter of fact, the sales tax dollars that we receive from items that are spent here in town go directly to our street fund. I mean, if y'all have driven around in Cooper, we desperately need help with our streets, and we're working diligently on that. So every additional tax dollar, y'all, that is spent here goes directly into that fund to help offset that. So that's a huge benefit for us. So, and I can joke about the streets because I live on them and I still know for sure. So I think it's done great things. There's been a great partnership. It's very nice to have this, and to be perfectly honest, I don't want to take my boat and other things off to some other lakes where I can maybe go visit and see some different sites, because we've got this right here and it's great and it's beautiful. So the future, what could the future hold? I remember a park in Tennessee when we lived there that had a restaurant, did the same thing as what the parks have done here, done a lease. They came in and leased some space and had this restaurant that was open Friday, Saturday nights. Marinas could come in and do the same. Who knows where the future is going to take us and what could happen on this lake. I do know that it was, I think, started off a lot of fishermen, and now us boaters that come in there and disturb the fishermen and come in. I think this lake offers a lot through all aspects, so it's a great opportunity and a great asset for Cooper and Delta County. So I want to thank you for letting me come and talk. I appreciate that for sure. And really what I'd like to say is happy anniversary to Dr. Spree.
Thanks, Darren. Great to speak, sir. We have a gift for you as well. I'm going to give you this from the park rangers here at Cooper Lake State Park. Thank you. Now, you guys are in for a musical treat. We have our very own local legend. She's not that old though, okay? Miss Enola Gay Matthews. Miss Enola Gay is named after the famous World War II bomber, Enola Gay. Enola Gay is a native Texan. She was born in Odessa, grew up in Longview, and was practically raised on the riverbanks because her mama loved to fish and took her there almost every day. She was not born here she's not born in Hopkins County or Delta County, but she got here just as fast as she could. Her first job in the area was with a radio station, K-Bus. You guys locally know that rock station. And she was there for a while. But she actually landed her dream job in 1989. She was the morning host at KSST. Miss Enola Gay has woken up at least 3 generations of children and letting them know their love before they go to school. Yes. Miss Enola Gay loves Western swing, and she loves the radio, and she's been named the DJ of the Year on several occasions. So that's a major kudos there. But that's not her biggest win. In 2020, Miss Enola Gay was awarded a special honor, the Governor's Yellow Rose of Texas Commission, for her preservation of the Riley Springs Jamboree and our local music heritage. Got another cool fact about Miss Enola Gay. In 1996, Enola was singing at our grand opening. And then Miss Enola will sing again today and tomorrow at the concert. So 25 years ago. You don't look that old, by the way. Well, let's please welcome Miss Enola Gay Matthews singing Deep in the Heart of Texas.
I do not know how you knew all that about me.
You sent me an email.
Well. I just want to say it is fabulous to be here. And almost all of our seats are filled. I want to welcome everybody and say it's good to see you here. I hope you'll come out tomorrow evening for the show, for the concert on the South Sulphur side. And yes, I remember the day that this place was opened, and it was quite a day. Lots of music and crowds and crowds of people. Can I say Jim Chapman?
Yeah.
He was our congressman, and through the news and the television, radio, and newspaper, he took us every step of the way to the completion of this park, and of course the lake. So, and I think it's called Jim Chapman Lake. At least part of it is. Anyway, I wouldn't miss a return for coming out today. Now, everybody knows you're not supposed, or I hope everybody knows, you're not supposed to ask a person if they're a Texan. Because, maybe you know why, but because if they are, they'll tell you. And if they're not, don't embarrass them by asking. But you folks look like Texans to me, and that's why I bet you'll know the song that we're going to do, and you can sing along with Mo Bandy, and I'm going to sing along with Mo Bandy. But if you don't know the words, then you can clap, and you just have to do it like that. But I need your clap on this song. Okay, so Steve.
Ready.
I think we're ready.
Now what?
More volume. Maybe you'll know the words. Let's sing.
The stars at night are big and bright. Deep in the heart of Texas, the great sky is wide and high. Deep in the heart of Texas, the sage in blue is white perfume. Deep in the heart of Texas, reminds me of the one I love. Deep in the heart of Texas.
Yeehaw! Just enough breeze to keep the flags flying. Y'all ready?
The coyotes wail along the trail. Deep in the heart of Texas, the rabbits rush around the brush. Deep in the heart of Texas, the stars at night are big and bright. Deep in the heart of Texas, the prairie sky is wide and high. Deep in the heart of Texas,
Last verse.
the sage in bloom is like perfume. Deep in the heart of Texas, reminds me of the one I love. Deep in the heart of Texas.
Yeehaw! That's good. Thank you all very much.
That was just great, Miss Enola. So before you leave the stage,
You're going to sing this with me. Actually, sing it with me tomorrow night?
come on out, I will sing it with you tomorrow. Before you leave, I want to give you a gift from all the park rangers here at the park. We say thank you for singing and speaking to us today. There you go, man. Thank you. Okay, next up, we're going to welcome Miss Mindy Hicks, who is the superintendent of Cooper Lake State Park, the Doctors Creek unit. She's going to talk to us about the rich history of Cooper Lake State Park. But before she comes up, we're going to talk a little bit about Miss Mindy. Okay, Mindy began her career with Parks and Wildlife as a seasonal clerk in 1996. You guys making the connection? Park opened in 96, Mindy started in 96. Over the years, Mindy has held various positions at the Cooper Lake Complex, office manager at South Sulphur, complex office manager, and since 2007, the superintendent here at Doctors Creek. Mindy has 2 kids. Her daughter, Brianna, she's in the crowd. She's in her 3rd year at Texas A&M Commerce. Son, Brennan, he's in the crowd as well. 2nd year in college at Texas A&M Commerce. Her father, Mickey Clayton. Is Mickey here today?
Yes, sir.
Mickey, how you doing, sir?
It's fine. How about you?
So you're the one who took Mindy to all these different parks.
Yeah, she's been in the park system ever since she was born. Yes.
Okay. Well, Mickey built parks all over the state of Texas, and he retired after 30 years of service. Through the years, Mindy's mother, Clarissa. Welcome, ma'am. She's worked at least 2 park offices, paid positions, and probably untold number of volunteer hours that you were helping the various state parks with. Mindy has traveled and lived at 10 different state parks during her years. Enchanted Rock, that's a glorious park. Cedar Hill, Lost Maples, Mineral Wells, and here at Cooper Lake, just to name a few. And Mindy's actually visited at least 44 parks, maybe more by now. So with that, with no further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Mindy Hicks, Superintendent of the Doctors Creek unit of Cooper Lake State Park.
So, between 80 and 85 years ago, a couple of guys from Delta County proposed a lake. They felt that they needed to do something about the water issue in the area, and so they put together a proposal to build a lake in this area. So that was somewhere in the late 1930s that proposal began. In 1948, a feasibility study was started to see if it was a good area and to see if that could be a possibility. Fast forward a few years, probably a lot of work in Congress, and a bill was passed in 1955 to actually authorize the building of Cooper Lake. Had a few stumbling blocks along the way, timing, money, things like that. But in 1986, construction of Cooper Lake began. The construction was finished in 1991 with the water collection starting that year. As most people in the area tell the story, they were estimating that it would take 3 years to fill the lake up before it could be used. And from what I understand, it took 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
Had a nice spring, a nice wet spring that year. So in 1992, access to the lake was open to boaters. And a few years later, in 1996, the parks were open to the public. Doctors Creek opening in January of 1996, and then South Sulphur opening in April of that same year. The Doctors Creek unit is approximately 700 acres on the north side of the lake where we are at today. And the South Sulphur unit is approximately 2,300 acres on the south end of the lake. And then the rest of the property around the lake is managed by our Wildlife Management Division. Something interesting about Cooper Lake, it was originally named Cooper Lake, but in 1998, Senator Jim Chapman, who was a Texas congressman from this area, was retiring, and they decided to honor him in his retirement by changing the name of Cooper Lake to Jim Chapman Lake. So that's why sometimes you'll see on maps 2 different names, or online you'll see 2 different names. Over the years, the 25 years that Cooper Lake has been open to the public, we've seen quite a bit of change in staffing and management. We've had 5 complex managers, 5 managers at the South Silver unit, and 3 different managers at the Doctors Creek unit, and then numerous staff members that have helped us along the way to keep the park in the condition that it's in and keep us growing and increasing. We do receive a lot of support from our local communities, which we are very thankful for, and we try to support them as well. We have 2 different school districts represented today from the local area. So thank you guys for being out today and helping us out. And then lastly, I'll talk a little bit about where we're going from here. So the last 2 years, we have seen a consistent increase in our visitors, about 30 to 40% a month consistently. And so we know that we're growing, and we're excited to be able to grow with our communities and to still continue to provide them with the facilities and opportunities that they have grown to love. Thank you.
Thanks, Mindy. Mindy's been here for pretty much for the entire duration, as well as Scott Henderson back there in the back, who is currently our park police officer. I think those guys have seen it all except for maybe 1 to 2 months of our existence. So Scott, Mindy, thank y'all. Okay, next up, it's an honor to have our next speaker here, our Honorable Hopkins County Judge, Judge Robert Newsom. I mentioned to you earlier, Judge, we're very happy you could arrange your schedule to make it here today, and you really made us happy with your appearance. Judge Robert Newsom graduated from Sulphur Springs High School. He graduated from East Texas State University, when it was called that, with a bachelor's degree. Graduated from Texas Tech School of Law with a doctorate of jurisprudence. 1981 through 1984, the judge was a peace officer. From 1987 to 1992, assistant district attorney. And from 93 to 96, the Hopkins County attorney. And from 1997 to 2012, the 8th judicial district judge. And then from 2014 through today, Judge Robert Newsom is our county judge in Hopkins County. Wife of 50 years, Robbie Newsom. Welcome, ma'am. 2 sons, Colonel Joel Newsom, U.S. Army. Major Jonathan Newsom, Texas Army National Guard, JAG. 13 grandchildren. Judge Robert Newsom is an ordained minister for Christ for the nations. And in 2018, a special honor, he was appointed by the Texas Supreme Court of Texas and the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals to serve as a member of the Judicial Commission on Mental Health. So with that, I would like to welcome to the podium the Honorable Judge Robert Newsom.
Thank you, Steve. Let's see here real quick. Let me get this open. And I see y'all. This is kind of cool. It holds down, but I guess everything from blowing away, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, it's a good idea. I didn't even think of it, but I'm going to take advantage of it right now. Thank you, Steve Killian. It's an honor to be here. And seriously, for Hopkins County, this lake has been so very much. And so, Steve, thank you for the work that you do. Mindy, that was really awesome. Hey, I was really impressed with the jazz band. How about you? Y'all let me know Aaron Brady, you're the mayor of Cooper, and your brother is in my court occasionally now. Martin Brady is his little brother over in Hopkins County. He served under. We were together a long time in the court system and still are. And then Enola Gay, if there's only one Enola Gay in this world, and we're so grateful for Enola Gay. She makes such an impact in Hopkins County and Sulphur Springs. And let's see, Rodney Franklin will be here in a moment, and he's from Powderly, Texas. A lot of people don't know that, but I looked you up. Just, and Matt Seavey, thank you so much for your words today as well. You know, there was a woman accompanied her husband to the doctor's office, and I'm looking at 5 young people way back there. Don't listen now, okay? Count on you. A woman accompanied her husband to the doctor's office, and after a checkup, the doctor called the wife into his office alone, and he said, your husband is suffering from very severe stress, and if you don't follow my instructions carefully, your husband will surely die. But each morning, if you'll do this, he will live. Each morning, fix him a healthy breakfast. Be pleasant at all times. For lunch, make him a nutritious meal. For dinner, prepare him an especially nice meal for him. Don't burden him with chores. No more chores. Don't discuss your problems with him. It'll only make his stress worse. Do not nag him. Anything he wants, do it for him. Always say yes to his every request. And if you can do this for the next 10 to 12 months, I believe your husband's going to be okay. So she gets in the car with her husband. They're driving home. Her husband said, what did the doctor say? The wife replied, honey, doctor says you're going to die. Counting on those 5 back there. I told them in the back, I said, I need at least 5 laughs, and thank you. And I'll pay you later, kids. Thank you so much. Those North Hopkins kids took care of me there. You know, it's great to be old, and as you saw me stand up here a little bit, I'm a little bit shaky on my legs and everything like that. I'm going to get better, though. But I'm 70 years old now, so I look back a lot often these days, and like I'm old enough to remember black and white TV. Now, we're speaking a different language to some of these young people over here and all, but black and white TV, do y'all remember that? Yes, well, some of you do anyway. I remember rotary telephones. Y'all remember those? Y'all kids, you would drive you crazy because now you just have to dial somebody up, you know. No, not at all. Rotary telephones were very, what you rolled and then it took you 5 minutes to make the call for a 1-minute call or whatever. I remember when I was trying to set up my first date with my wife, Robbie, and I was a senior in high school, she was a sophomore. And so on a Sunday night, I actually said, I'm going to call Robbie because I really like to get her to know her better. So I did this rotary telephone. It was at the back of the church, and they had this phone. I just dialed that thing up. Well, it took 5 minutes to dial up her number, of course, and her mother answered, said hello, and I hung up. That lady scared me to death, you know. And she wasn't that big, but she just mean, I guess. I thought she was. So I thought, you know what, you can do this, and so I did it again. It took forever, you know. And her mother answered again. I hung up. This is a true story. The 3rd time, you know, I thought to myself, look, you're a senior in high school. I mean, you're an athlete. Come on, you can do this. And the 3rd time I dialed that phone up, and it took forever to dial. And then her mother answered again. And I go, is Robbie there? And I was like, come on, boys, you can do this. Anyway, and so she said, yes, just a minute. Robbie answered the phone. I said, Robbie, could you go out for a Coke? She said yes, and we went to the Sonic. 50 years later, here we are together. And this is my wife, Robbie, right here on the front. I mean, I can remember when there were no Barbie dolls, okay? When Barbie came along, it changed everything, you know? I remember when we used to we'd have a good time, and we'd say, we're having a blast. But these days that has to do with bombs, but it had nothing to do with bombs. You know, we would say that party was a gas, but it had nothing to do with smell. It was just like, you know, we really had a great life in those days. Do y'all remember? And none of you will remember this. The Freddy. Man, I don't see anybody. Nobody did the Freddy. Okay, well, come on, guys. Okay, the Frog. Did anybody dance the Frog? Come on. Okay, well, anyway. The Locomotion. Yeah, well, they at least know the word, you know. Locomotion, that was a special dance. The Twist. Okay, I got some hits tonight on that one. Beatles, you know. They sang my favorite song with them was A Hard Day's Night. I never did figure out what that meant. Did y'all? A hard day's night. But anyway, it was a great song, and I can still sing the words for you, but we'll let it know to do the singing today. I remember bell bottoms, and I might have a pair of them left out back there, Robbie, somewhere. I had an afro. I remember that. You know, I remember free love. And then I got married. Free after all. You know? But the hippies brought us free love in those days, you know. And global freezing. Do y'all remember global freezing? See, only if you're in the 70s, we had global freezing. Everything was going to freeze up. And then we came to the 80s and it became global warming and everything was going to heat up and the oceans are going to overcome us. And then finally they gave up on that and said, we'll have climate change. That way we don't have to differentiate between the two anymore. I remember all of these, and it's great to be old and remember that. I'm old enough to remember before this lake was here. I remember one morning, I was a deputy sheriff over here in the sheriff's office, right next to the courthouse before they tore all that down. I was a deputy sheriff, and the sheriff said, "Hey, Robert, we had a big rain the night before, big rain the night before." And the sheriff said, "Robert, come on with me. Let's go up and to the South Sulphur River." So we drove up to the South Sulphur River, but we got to Tyra, and we looked over at where it goes downhill into the South Sulphur bottom there, and all I could see was water. The levees had all broken that night, and there was nothing but water. I mean, unbelievable. Overnight, a lake had been created that was the biggest lake I'd ever seen in my life. Right there in Tyra, looking down over it, I couldn't see hardly any trees. They were covered mostly. It was unbelievable. The water of the South Sulphur River had completely created a new lake, which went on. By the way, there were cows back there, there were horses back there were people living back there were animals back there, and they were all suffering because the water had just completely taken over. 1981, maybe it was 1981, maybe early 1982, I can't remember exactly. I tried to look it up, couldn't find out. There's been so many floods. I guess it's just another flood. But this flood impacted us so much that a few years later, they finally decided to build this lake because it was necessary. You see, when those levees went, everything went. And everything was flooded for miles and miles and miles and miles. All the way from Hopkins County at Tyra, all the way into Delta County. I remember the 5 years of construction of this lake, and now I have experienced the ramifications of the building of Cooper Lake. Jim Chapman Lake, if you will, he's a friend of mine. I haven't seen him in a while, and I was hoping he'd be here today. I don't know. But anyway, Jim Chapman still exists. He's down in South Texas, somewhere down in that area. But the impact has been not on just Hopkins County, not just Delta County, but all of northeast Texas, and especially even North Texas. I was talking about to the Irving city manager the other day, and he said, "Oh yes, that lake impacts us big time. We wouldn't be anywhere without Cooper Lake." Not only flood control, as I mentioned a moment ago, but water for towns and cities and outdoor recreation that is unrivaled in Texas. Catfish, bluegill, bass and crappie. I fished this lake. I've run the trails. I've walked the trails. I've even sung in the South Sulphur part there, but they didn't invite me back. I did sing there one time, you know. I've enjoyed it with folks from Northeast Texas. I've enjoyed it with folks from other states and even other countries. Sorry, my teleprompter is messing up here. Just a second here. Could the Caddo Indians ever have imagined this beautiful place on this side? I don't think they could. Could the settlers of the early 1800s from Tennessee, Kentucky, the Carolinas, and Virginia ever have even visualized this magnificent forest with its unique buildings and rustic atmosphere? Well, look around. 25 years is just a good start. Congratulations to the Cooper Lake State Park, all the staff that makes this place unique in the state of Texas, and thank you from not only myself, but the people of the state of Texas. Thank you so much. May God bless Cooper Lake State Park. I look forward to 25 years from now being with you again, and we will celebrate another 25 years. May God bless the state of Texas, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Judge. And a token of our appreciation from the staff at Cooper Lake State Park, I'll give you this gift.
All right,
Thank you. Thank you. Great job, Judge. Okay, I gotta be careful. Next up is my boss, my big boss. Okay, so let's get this right. I'm so happy to welcome our State Parks Director, Rodney Franklin. He made it back to his old stomping grounds here at Cooper Lake. I know Rodney had to rearrange the schedule because he was scheduled to speak somewhere in Austin today, and he changed his schedule to be here with us. So thank you, Rodney. Rodney Franklin's background: he has a bachelor's degree in political science from Texas A&M University College Station. Sorry about that game a couple of weeks ago. He's a master peace officer with the Texas Commission of Law Enforcement. Rodney started his career with Texas Parks and Wildlife as a seasonal employee at a small park, a historic site in Paris, Texas, the Sandbell Maxey House. How many folks have been to the Sandbell Maxey House? After graduating from Texas A&M University, he managed that site, and he was later promoted to the superintendent's position of Lake Bob Sandlin near Mount Pleasant, and managed that park for 6 years. Rodney became the complex manager, the position I have here at Cooper Lake, and managed this glorious site for 8 years. And from there, he was promoted to the regional director's position in Park Regions 5. He oversaw Palo Duro Canyon and some of our other treasures in that part of the state. From there, he was promoted to deputy director, and he only stayed in that position for about a year. And then he was promoted to the division director of state parks in December of 2018. Rodney leads over 1,300 park rangers, managing 88 Texas state parks, and soon we're going to have at least 2 more very soon. Rodney is a National Conservation Leadership Fellow. He enjoys impacting our agency's mission, which allows him to protect and conserve wild places throughout the great state of Texas. In his current position as director, he is able to work with over 3,000 other Texas Parks and Wildlife employees, making a real difference in the lives of Texas, protecting areas that make Texas, Texas. And like many of us, like myself and many of the park rangers in the crowd, he enjoys outdoor recreation and stewardship work that we do with Texas Parks and Wildlife and the Texas State Parks Division. So with that, I'd like to welcome the State Parks Director, Rodney Franklin.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate it. It's so good to be here today, and so good to hear from so many friends and partners. Judge Newsom, before you got up and spoke, I would have bet my last dollar that I would be the only speaker who ever had an afro. I'm really surprised to hear that, but that is great. And I also got to say, you all did really good on that clapping thing. You started out a little shaky. The band was getting nervous about your rhythm a little bit. They got us all in tune, so y'all did a really good job on that. I was really looking at the drummer there. He was like, y'all got to get it together. And you did a really good job. So thanks for having me here, Steve. Thanks for inviting me up. Yes, I did kind of get double booked, but there was no way I'd miss an opportunity to come back to a place that really helped shape the early part of my career. It was a fantastic time during those years here at Cooper Lake. This been 8 years. I'm glad you said that because I was trying to remember, talking to Mindy's mom, we were trying to remember how long I'd actually been here, and it was 8 years, and it was 8 great years. And just like many of the state parks across Texas, Cooper Lake has seen an influx of visitors over the years. You've heard several folks talk about that. And if the last year has taught us anything, it has taught us the importance of getting outside and getting back to nature. And like so many of our parks across the state, Cooper Lake does that. Cooper Lake State Park, the Doctors Creek unit, and South Sulphur unit do that fantastically. It is great to see, great to be back here, and you all are doing a fantastic job. All the rangers here. There are a lot of y'all here, a lot of rangers. I mean, that is fantastic, and we need every single one of them. I think the director of state parks really taking care of Cooper Lake State Park with MTD, so that's good. It's great to see everybody here, and I thank you for having me. When we talk about the importance of parks, we talk about the importance of getting outside. Steve's right. We've got a lot of people in Texas, and they all need a place to go. And places like Cooper Lake State Park, South Sulphur, and Doctors Creek is important to the community, as the mayor said. And to that end, we're looking across the landscape of Texas, and we understand that there are more parklands that are needed. And we will be opening more. That's one of the things I'm really, really excited about. I'm excited about the fact that we're in 2 short years. Cooper Lake State Park is celebrating 25 years. The state park system will be celebrating 100 years of state parks. So I'm really excited about the celebration that we'll have in 2023. We'll have a big birthday cake, and hopefully y'all can help us blow out the candles. But to that end, we're going to be opening up a brand new state park in Palo Pinto County, just west of the Dallas-Fort Worth area and east, right in between Dallas and Abilene. It's going to be one of our newer state parks, and we're going to continue to do that because places like this that connect people to nature are important. And so I'm excited as state park director to look across Texas and see what the future can hold for state parkland. And opening new parks like Palo Pinto Mountains in 2023. Hopefully right after that we'll be opening up ABK right outside of San Antonio. We got Powderhorn on the coast coming up. We got Chenati Mountains in West Texas, and Davis Hill down in Liberty County. So lots of good things on the horizon for Texas State Parks and Texas Parks and Wildlife. You know, as I came in late last night, I realized as you get older, you sometimes get nostalgic, and I really wasn't feeling that old until I saw Mindy's kids, and I realized that, okay, yes, maybe I am old. And then I started feeling a little bit better about myself, and Judge Newsom started talking about rotary phones. I felt old again. But you get nostalgic, right? You start thinking about the past. And I started thinking about my time here at Cooper Lake, and I thought about Jim Melton and some of the folks that I've worked with over the years, and some of the folks that have impacted what parks are and what Cooper Lake is. And somebody has said, I think it was you, Mayor Bratton, that said, parks grow and evolve. And I think about all the people that have come before me that have had an impact on Cooper Lake. I was sitting on the back deck of cabin number 1, and I was looking at the view, and I was feeling very, very good about where we are in state parks. And I started thinking about all the thousands of people that have experienced that view as well, and gotten the same sense of calm, gotten the same sense of peace. Connecting to nature is good for your mind, body, and soul. And that's the thing that I remembered and thought about how we have done that here at Cooper Lake State Park, both the Doctors Creek unit and South Sulphur unit. We've done that for 25 years. And I am looking forward to the next 25. I look across the landscape of these professionals in the back that have had a hand in taking care of this park and are continuing to do so, and I feel excited about the next 25 years. How can you not feel excited about the next 25 years? Knowing that somebody's son or daughter, somebody's grandchild are going to be able to sit on that back deck just like I did this morning and feel the same thing I felt. It gives me goosebumps, and I just want to thank everybody here that has a hand in taking care of these special places. It's not just the team of park rangers and admin, it's also the volunteers. Another thing I started thinking about, over the time here at Cooper Lake during my time, we've had very good times, but we've also had some challenges, right? There have been some times that were tough to get through. Mindy and I right beside each other trying to figure out how we were going to do certain things or accomplish certain goals. And I'm hoping Mindy can find the money to do some of the things we wanted to do. And sometimes it got challenging. And one of the things that was born out of those challenging times was the Friends group here at Doctors Creek. And I tell you, seeing that group still alive and around today, it also makes me feel good about the future of Cooper Lake State Park. So all that evolution and all the things that have occurred at Cooper Lake over the years, I was sitting in the cabin 1, and I know I've been in there many times. I don't think I'd ever stayed in cabin 1 particularly, but I've been in there several times, probably cleaned it a time or two, and probably didn't clean it to Sharon Akerham's standard. But I know I did a better job than Stanley. I'm just So I was looking at the cabin, and I just realized that things change. I mean, there's new things. I mean, I was wondering, are those towels on contract? Because those are not the same scratchy towels that were there when I was there. But the park is better. Is the bottom line. The growth that has happened, the things that I saw in the headquarters there, the park is better, and it'll continue to get better in the next 25 years. Parks play an important role in the community, just as you said, Mayor. It is absolutely critical to be a part of the community in which you're in. And Steve does a great job, and the folks in the park system do a great job of connecting with that community. Because we all know what it means for the Delta County and Hopkins County to have these parks here. We've seen the benefits over the years. So it is fantastic that we'll have that for the next 25 years and the next 100 years. I'm, for one, am proud to be a part of the history here at Cooper Lake State Park. In my chair now, I get to see the great work that occurs across the state, and I get to see the great work that's occurring at Cooper Lake State Park, and I get to see the things that have changed and the things that have stayed the same, because some of the things that have stayed the same is the feeling you get when you come in the gate and you see how well maintained it is, and you get to walk on the trails, and you get to spend time in nature. That is going to last forever, and that's what's fantastic about the work that each and every one of you do, and the partnerships and the help that y'all provide to make that possible for not just the people that are coming today, but the people that are coming for the next 25 years. So it's exciting. I'm looking forward to the next 25 years of partnerships and stewardship here at Cooper Lake State Park. Thank you again for having me. Thank you again, Steve, for inviting me. To the staff, thank you for the work that you do, and the work you continue to do, and the work you will continue to do. Thank you for your service, friends groups, partners, the Corps of Engineers. Thank you for your partnership. It takes all of us to do the work that keeps these special places special, and keep these unique gems unique and special for not just today, but for future generations. So, appreciate you having me, and please put me on the list for the 50-year anniversary celebration as well. So, thanks everybody. Good to see you, and I appreciate it. And enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks, Ronnie. That was uplifting. Thank you very much. The staff also wants to give you a gift of our gratitude for you making it back up to your old stomping ground. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Steve.
All right, folks, I would be remiss if I didn't thank all the groups that made this ceremony possible. A big, big, big thank you to Friends of Doctors Creek. Rodney mentioned those folks. This wonderful cake that's being set out was purchased by the Friends of Doctors Creek. I want to get at least 2 pieces of that cake. The tent, Friends of Doctors Creek. It didn't rain, thankfully, but this nice venue because of the Friends of Doctors Creek. Cooper ISD, thank you guys so much. And we're going to get to hear them play a little bit longer. North Hopkins ISD. North Hopkins, you can wave your hands back there, guys. Thank y'all. Thank you to the superintendent and everybody at North Hopkins for supporting us. And special thanks to Ignite Ministries for the chairs we're all sitting in. Without those guys, you will be standing up right now. Okay? So thank you to them. The Mighty Maroon Jazz Band will now begin to play as we line up and have a piece of this beautiful, tasty birthday cake. So thank you guys for attending, and we're looking forward to seeing you again tonight at South Sulphur and tomorrow at South Sulphur for the educational programming and the big concert tomorrow night on the lakes of the Great Cooper Lake. So thank you, safe travels, and hope to see you soon again. Thank you.